How do you find rest in a time of unrest? We're going to talk about that coming up right now. Hey friends, thanks for joining us. My name is Jeff. I'm here with Foremost Worship, equipping you to love Jesus first and foremost in your life and ministry. You know, our whole goal is to come alongside of you and encourage you and inspire you to love the Lord the way that you were intended. Today we're going to talk about how to find rest when everything around you is kind of nuts. We're living in a time that can easily be described as unrest. There's turmoil all around us, but I believe that God's people should be marked with a restful peace, that God is in control, that He's still on the throne, and that He has everything under control. I know it's countercultural because everything around us is saying go, 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 and fix. But I believe that the true answer lies in finding the true rest that can't be secured with our hands, but can only be found in the hands of the very one that created them. I believe that it's wound in the DNA of everything around us. God created for 6 days, and then He rested. I don't believe it's because He needed rest. I believe it's because it's a balancing law within the very fabric of creation. God knew that we would try to take things into our own hands, and so He modeled to us the need to rest, and within that need, the ultimate need to rest in Him. Jesus also modeled this. We'll talk more about this later, but He often would run off and try to find a place to rest, both physically and spiritually. So we're going to talk about 4 components of finding true rest, and you can practically carry these out in your own personal time with the Lord, or just in your devotional life. It's just kind of an acronym that makes it simple and easy to remember how to find rest in Him practically. So the R stands for release. This is where we release control. We're letting go. We're saying, God, I surrender to you. It might sound cliche to say, let go and let God. I know it's cheesy, but really that is the first step. We will not find rest as long as we hold on. Releasing control is what allows us to take hold of peace. It's taking our hands off the wheel and giving space to God to have full control. I always say you can only cling to one thing at a time. As long as you're clamoring and grasping onto the controls, we can never find true rest because we're relying on ourselves. Paul said it really well in Philippians 4:6, where he says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God." And it's no coincidence that right after that, it says, "The peace that passes all understanding will guard your heart and mind in Christ." You see, anxiety is produced by a false sense of control. As long as we hold on to it, there's a certain amount of fear and anxiety that will linger with us. Peter also says the same kind of thing in 1 Peter 5:7. He says for us to cast our cares upon Him because He cares for us. Jesus may have been the first to talk about it in Matthew 6:25-37, where He teaches us not to worry because even the sparrows are taken care of, and we are much more valuable than them. So fear, worry, anxiety, aren't these exactly the opposite of rest? So where worry and anxiety and fear would cause you to hold on to something, to find rest would mean to say, I surrender. So R stands for release. The E in rest stands for expect. This is saying, God, you are faithful. I am expecting that you are a good God. You are a good Father. You are a good shepherd who is faithful to do what you say. In the classic Psalm 23, God is described as the ultimate shepherd. Shepherds provide, shepherds protect. Where sheep are utterly helpless, the shepherd always comes through, right? He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He is the one that restores our soul. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You see, those sheep have needs and dangers all around them, just like us. But they can always count on and expect the shepherd to be faithful. Jesus said, "Come to me, all who are weary, and I will give you rest." It is right to come to him and expect that he is faithful to give and to provide. Because when we are yoked with him, there is rest. It's not that we're sitting around doing nothing. It's that we are yoked to the ultimate, the Almighty. It's when we come under that yoke that we don't have to bear the weight on our own. He is faithful to fight for us. So instead of living under the fear and anxiety of the unknown, rest in his promises that says God is faithful. So R stands for release. E stands for expect, because he's faithful. The S in rest stands for Selah. This is to say, God, I wait on you. Selah appears 74 times in the Old Testament. It's originally thought to be like an instrumental term or a musical term, but it means to pause and to reflect on what was just said. And I think that's really one of the issues. When was the last time that you sat and you waited on the Lord? No music, no words, just waiting in anticipation of what he had to say. Or even more, just waiting to wait on him. I almost called the S stop striving, based on Psalm 46 that says, to be still and know that he is God. In some translations, it says, cease striving and know that I am God. I do believe that this is part of what causes unrest in our hearts. It's an unwillingness to be still, to just know that he is God, that he is in control and not us. But that also ties to the first point, to release control. I believe that we must cease striving, but there's also a broader image that I like in this word Selah. It's intriguing to me that if it were written in a musical term, it would probably involve rests musically, in the same way that we have quarter notes and we have rests musically. So there is an element that we need to cease striving, but I think even on a broader level, there's a need for us physically, mentally, emotionally, and probably most importantly spiritually, to pause and reflect and to wait in order to attain the rest that we can find in him. So R is to release. E is to expect him to be faithful. S is to Selah and to pause upon that greatness. And T stands for trust. This is to say, God, I put my trust in you. Rest really is a byproduct of faith, birthed out of actively trusting in the Lord. I guess that's why peace is a fruit of the Spirit and faith is not. Peace and rest are birthed out of active faith. So the last component is taking the step to actively put your faith and trust in the Lord, even in the midst of unrest. So when we do that, it gives way to rest. I mean, isn't that clearly displayed with Jesus in the boat, sleeping in the middle of the storm, right? All the disciples are freaking out, and Jesus is resting calmly in the belly of the boat, as though the waves aren't even there. Now, I understand this is Jesus. He can control anything. He can calm the storms. He can, shoo the waves away. But God has certainly given us the authority to find rest in the midst of whatever storm that we may encounter. Release, expect, Selah, trust. If we just practice these things, if we release the control to him, if we expect him to be faithful and ponder that, if we take the time to pause and Selah and meditate on who God is and which leads us to trust him, right? I believe that it helps us to find rest in him and not in other things. So this isn't meant to be a formula. It's not a 4-step checklist that you can run through whenever you need to find rest. But my hope is that it would be a simple, easy reminder that rest is within your reach. So there you have it, a simple tool to help you find rest in the Lord. I hope this was encouraging to you. I hope it spurs you on in your worship and your love for the Lord. If it was, I encourage you to share it with your friends on Facebook, whatever social media you have. And please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you are in the loop whenever we're creating new content like this. And you can also find the written blog materials and this video on foremostworship.com. So thanks again, guys. Until next time, let's go love Jesus first.